How can I get my disrespectful teenager to show some respect? Are you experiencing this too? Hi, I'm Dr. Paul Jenkins. I have been coaching parents as part of my positive psychology practice for almost 3 decades now. And you're not alone. A lot of people have run into this. There's a model that every parent needs to understand. I'm going to share that with you and then follow that up with 3 specific strategies that you can employ immediately with your teenager. Let's jump in. Not only am I a psychologist, I'm a homeowner. And occasionally on the weekends, I get pulled into some kind of a project around the house. There's always something. I remember one of these particular weekends when the plumbing needed some attention. Plumber and psychologist both start with the letter P. And that's maybe about where the similarities end. So I'm not an expert plumber. But my dad has some experience with this, so I called him up and I said, "Dad, what do I need to know?" He said, "There's only 2 rules to plumbing. Number 1, water runs downhill." And I'm like, okay, thanks, Dad. Kind of knew that. Rule number 2, don't lick your fingers. And I chuckled a little bit. He was trying to be funny, but it's actually a useful rule if you're replacing a toilet or something. I think there might be more similarities than I thought. Because in parenting, there are 2 very analogous rules. Rule number 1, this is the water runs downhill rule. Some things you control, other things you don't. Have you noticed? And especially when it comes to teenagers, they will tell you loudly and repeatedly what you don't control. Pay attention. Rule number 2, focus on the things you do control. That's the equivalent of don't lick your fingers. So to understand this model, we always share control with our kids. As our kids mature, they take more control, whether we want to give it to them or not. The model that I have prepared for you is called the moral development model or the control and maturity model. I'm going to put a copy of this in your inbox. Just go to the URL that's on the screen right now, drpauljenkins.com/stages. Go pick it up. Once you get the model, you'll be able to see a visual reference to what I'm referring to here. The short version is that it's about stage, not age. So just because your child is a teenager now does not mean that they are very mature yet. You'll see on the model that I've broken it down into 3 stages. Stage 1 is the least mature. Stage 1 is where there's disrespect and a refusal to cooperate and fighting and demanding and yelling and screaming and manipulation. Sound familiar? And as we're talking about disrespect, that fits in stage 1. When we move to stage 2, there's more cooperation. There's a willingness to comply with reasonable requests. This sounds a whole lot more pleasant, doesn't it? And stage 3 is the highest of those 3 stages, where there's actually responsibility. There's initiative, there's empathy, there's morals and values and ethics that drive behavior. So obviously a more mature stage. How much control you take as a parent depends on what stage they're on as your teenagers. Notice that this is not about your mood, it's about their stage. In fact, I would encourage you as a parent to remain very calm, all right? Your mood is one of calm, peaceful zen. Are you with me on this? Can you do this? Now, this is where some parents wonder, how is it possible to stay calm when my kid is being so disrespectful? Well, it's a pretty good question, but usually it's not even a question. It's a statement disguised as a question, and what they're really saying is, I can't stay calm. Yes, you can. When you understand the control and maturity model, you're simply going to focus on what you control and put your time and energy into that. Remember, that's rule number 2. Now, before I share the 3 specific strategies with you of how we can apply this model, I want to remind you of what your job is as a parent. What is your job? I've asked this question to a lot of parents over the last 3 decades. And I get some pretty good answers. Well, my job's to keep them safe and to make sure that they are respectful and to make sure that they obey, make sure that they do their chores, make sure that they do their homework, make sure that they treat each other nicely, make sure that they. Do you see the theme? And the problem with this is you can't. You can't make sure that they anything. That's not in your control, especially as they get older, as they become teenagers and even young adults. You can't make sure that they anything. So let's pick something that we can control, shall we? Your job is to love them, no matter what, and even if. Now, do we need to play the even if game? Even if they're disrespectful? Yes. Maybe especially when. Even if they hate you, which they don't, but they might say that they do. See, your job is to love them no matter what, and even if. I remember my son telling me once, I had set some limits, he had some consequences, whatever, and I'm in there visiting with him as he's going to bed. He's a teenager at the time. He said, "Dad, sometimes I feel like I hate you." And then he recovered a little bit and he said, "I know that I don't. I love you. I don't know what I'd do without you, but I feel like I hate you sometimes." And it's because of the limits that we get to set as parents. It's not your job to be their friend. It's your job to love them no matter what and even if. Can we be clear about that? And I may come back to it, but let's get to those 3 strategies I promised. Strategy number 1, detach from the outcomes. This seems counterintuitive, but is actually a very powerful psychological tool that puts you in a whole new position as a parent. Now, what outcomes am I referring to? The ones that you think it's your job to pull off. For your child to treat you with respect, for example. If you can detach from that outcome, look, somebody has to be attached to the outcome. And if it's you, it's not your kid. I want you to detach from the outcome to give your teenager a chance to attach to it. Then we're going to let consequences and empathy do the teaching. So the strategy is to detach from the outcome and then use effective consequences that you control. In our parent coaching programs, we go through all kinds of examples of this. If you need a little extra help, come see us at Live on Purpose Central. Go.liveonpurposecentral.com will take you right in, where you can see what coaching programs we have available for you as parents. One thing that will help you to detach from the outcome is to focus on the relationship more than the behaviors. Keep this in mind somewhere, at least in the back of your mind, that most teenagers turn into pretty normal, reasonable adults. So as you go through some of the turbulent times, remind yourself of that as often as you need to. Let's get to strategy number 2. Remain calm. 3 elements of this: calm voice, calm face, calm body. When you remember strategy number 1, which is to detach from the outcome, it's going to help you to remain calm, because whatever the outcome is, you're okay with. The other thing that this does for you is it takes advantage of teenage psychology in a way that will help your teen to own the outcomes. And here's what I mean. When a teenager's life is uncomfortable because of some consequences that have come about, their brain asks an important question. Why is my life bad right now? It's not bad, but maybe that's the question. And then their brain gives them an answer, and they scan their environment and they see mom or dad losing their cool, yelling and screaming, cussing and profaning, turning all shades of red. Their brain hooks that to their misery. I'm miserable because my parent is crazy. What if they scan their environment and parent is cool? Calm voice, calm face, calm body. Well, now they have to make a different kind of a conclusion. It's a powerful way to flip the psychology. Remember, on the consequences, we're going to pick something that we control 100%. This makes the discipline all business. You are simply honoring their choice with a detachment from the outcome. As a parent, stay in a position where you can model the respectful behavior that you're hoping to see from them. The last thing we want to do is lose our own cool. Strategy number 3, choose to enjoy your teen. It's so funny to see parents' reactions to this sometimes because they don't even think it's possible. How could I enjoy this? It's a pretty good question. How could you enjoy this? What if there were some huge prize attached to it, like $500,000? If you could enjoy your teen, and you can't fake it, you have to actually enjoy them. What would you do? That's an interesting thought experiment because your brain is going to start giving you some things that you could actually do to enjoy your teen. I can tell you as a psychologist, the biggest part of this is your own mindset. What you think matters. And when you think my teen is out of control and totally disrespectful, how do you feel? What if you were to think something different instead? What kind of other feelings are available to you when you start to understand your own psychology? This is why positivity is one of the most fundamental principles of parenting. All right, you got a couple of strategies here. I shared at least briefly with you the model that every parent needs to know. Remember to go grab this, drpauljenkins.com/stages. I'll put it right in your inbox, and then we can follow up to see that you know how to do this positive parenting. We've got you.